welcome to a brand new video. Now, it's been a little while since I made a video. A lot of you guys are probably asking, where have I been? Well, I apologise for that. It's been an interesting few weeks. A lot of things have been going on, which meant I've had pretty much no time to set up and record. I've had time to race and actually use my setup, but not actually record, because there's a lot more to recording videos than some might think. So I've not really had time to do that recently, but I have done a couple of changes and upgrades to my racing setup, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. Now this time I'm filming this on my mobile phone, so hopefully the focus shouldn't be an issue as it was in my last video. And I'm going to be showing you around my new rig. Now, the reason I have a new rig is I'm actually in a different room now, which means I have a lot more space, which allow me to upgrade and get a more permanent setup. So if I pan out now, I'll show you the overall rig to begin with. I am now using the FGT, as you can see here, Next Level Racing rig. Now, before all you guys, or some of you at least, start going off in the comments about how this isn't a great rig, I'm going to go through the pros and cons of it and why I went for this rig and how I've actually made some modifications to improve this rig. Because if you go on the sim racing Facebook pages or on Reddit, you will get a lot of people saying that Next Level Racing is cheap. You know, it's kind of a cheap Chinese company who just make cheap kit. And whilst that is a little bit true, of course, there's always a market for cheaper equipment. Not everyone can go out and just spend £1,000 on a SimLab racing rig and then an extra 500 on a real GTC and so on. And whilst I'd love to do that, and I could do with the space I now have, I went for this setup. And as I said, I will talk to you guys through the logic. So to begin with, I'll show you around a bit and I'll talk about pricing and actually how I can tell you guys how to get this at a good price at the moment as well if you are interested in getting something like this. So to begin with, what you're actually looking at here is, of course, the FGT rig and then the Next Level Racing freestanding monitor mount as well, which, as you can see, it does have parts here and here, so you can make it into a triple monitor mount, which, again, I've heard a lot of people saying it's not great for triple monitor mounts. You know, there's a lot of sag, but for me, using a 34-inch ultra wide, which I am going to upgrade to a 49-inch when I move this into another room, but that's another story. So I'm going to have a much bigger monitor at some point, but for using a single monitor, this stand works really well. And I went for this stand as a freestanding version over the version that mounts to the rig, as it gives you more flexibility. There's a version that actually mounts directly on to the FGT rig, but I wanted a bit more versatility. If I ended up changing the rig in the future, it meant I could still use this stand. You know, the stand isn't kind of affected by what rig I'm using. So, how was this in terms of putting it together? It only took about an hour or so. I got help from my dad, actually. He was here to help me put it all together. It didn't take long at all. Since then, I've actually taken it apart a few times, or taken parts of it apart and you know, tightened bits up and made some alterations. And I am very, very impressed. That's my initial comments, is I'm really, really impressed. So as you can see, if you don't know about this rig, it's called the FGT because you can run it in a formula setup, which is what I'm doing now, where the seat is very, very low to the ground, or you can, and the pedals are raised up, or you can run it in a GT setup, which is the seat is more raised up and your pedals are on the floor, more like a traditional car seating position. Now, neither of those are correct in terms of reality. I'm running it in this formula position, but it's actually more like what a real GT racing seat is like. In a real GT racing car, the drivers don't drive or sit in the position you would in a standard car with your feet on the floor. Their feet are still somewhat raised up, more like I have here than in an F1 car, which is much more inclined than this. You're almost in a kind of laying position and your feet are at the same height as your steering wheel. So this is actually neither Formula or GT. This is kind of a kind of compromise between the two. But it's very, very comfortable. I hear a lot of people saying the seat is uncomfortable. It comes with this Next Level Racing lumbar support pillow, which I probably sat in this now yesterday. I've been watching, as you can see here, this is live now, the 24 hours of Spa. So I've been watching this pretty much non-stop since yesterday. So yesterday I was actually doing I did like 2 one-hour races around Spa with qualifying, half an hour for each of that. So I probably sat in this seat maybe for 3.5 hours yesterday, non-stop. I've done more than that in the past, in the last 2 weeks. I've had this for 2 weeks now. The comfort level is completely fine. I have the seat in quite a upright position. You can choose how far it's reclined, but I have it quite upright, so I have a good view with my setup, and I have my feet raised up in the highest position they can be, and I find it really, really comfortable. Now, the other thing you get a lot of comments is people saying there's a lot of flex in this. This isn't designed or can be used with a direct drive wheel. Now, obviously, I can't comment on direct drive because I don't have a direct drive setup. I have a Club Sport V2.5 setup, but it's still very, very powerful, and I do run it at a high torque setting, but this is absolutely rigid. So you've got your choices here of the settings of, you know, what angle you want this driving plate at, and then this just mounts down to here. Now, I have gone through with the torque spanner and made this as tight as possible, and there really is no movement in this at all. It is rock solid. I don't find that, you know, any wobble at all, especially coming from having a play seat challenge in the past. You know, this is really, really sturdy. Now, from that, a lot of people say you get a lot of flex in the pedal plate, especially if you've got a load cell brake pedal. You know, you're slamming on the brakes, that pedal board there can flex. Now, I have it, it's almost touching the wall. It's not quite, I'll show you in a minute, but I find there isn't that much flex in it. Now, again, I don't have a load cell brake pedal yet. I will do in the future, but I have made a simple mod here, which I've had a lot of people asking me about on the Fanatec Facebook forum and stuff. I've had a few people messaging me wanting pictures and stuff, so I'll show you now this modification that removes entirely flex from the pedal plate. So you have to ignore the wires a bit at the moment. I've done the wiring for the wheel quite neatly, but this extension lead I've got is just really, really long, and there's just loads of it, and there's also an internet cable, but again, I will get round to sorting that better in the future, so please ignore that. But my point here is, this is a modification I have made to remove all flex. So originally you just have these two mount points here and here, four mount points, here and here for the plate, and then here and here for the actual, because this can slide, you can see this metal slider, you can choose where you want this brake board, and then you can choose the angle of it here. Now, I've got it, as I said, as tilted as possible. Then to remove this flex, I went to, if you're in the UK, I can tell you exactly where to buy them. I went to Wix, and these poles are M8 thickness, which is what it needs to be to fit through these holes. M8 thickness thread, and it was 160 mil long, so 16 centimeters long, and you can cut them down. And then, as you can see, you just washer on here, and then here, this, I haven't made any holes in anything. This is actually a hole that's already here in the base plate. Washer through here, tighten them up as much as possible. Sorry, my hands look a bit all over because I'm watching through the screen. Tighten them up as much as possible, and again, I've got one on the other side there as well. And that just adds that extra kind of column of support, and there literally is, I can put my whole body weight on this. You know, you can push as hard as you want. There is zero flex in this pedal board at all. If you can make that flex with that modification on, then there's something wrong with you, and it's not the pedal board. So, yeah, that's a cheap, literally, those cost £1.30 for those poles off from Wix, and the washers already came with the setup. You get so many extra bolts, washers, nuts, and screws. So, yeah, you can do that modification to remove all the flex from that pedal board there for £1.30. So, that's a great little mod. And then the other mod that I did was actually to the back of the seat. Now, the back of the seat did have a lot of movement. When you were sat in the car, it was fine, it had zero movement, but I still didn't like the fact that this would wobble about. When you're climbing in and out the rig, you know, you kind of put your hand on the top there, it would wobble about a bit. So what we came up with, again from Wix, we bought a 4mm thick piece of mild steel, which was about £5, and then we just drilled through it. Obviously, if I move this strap, these screws are obviously already in here, and what you come with originally is just this little kind of piece that screws in and out here, and you can choose which hole it goes through to choose the angle of the seat. So we got the seat at the angle I wanted, and we just drilled M8 size holes through here and here, and then just put, that's the screw that was obviously into that originally, and just put them through. And this isn't, you know, and I spray painted it matte black to kind of suit the rest. I kind of sanded down the sides a bit. It took about an hour to make the two pieces, not really long at all. And I reckon that looks pretty OEM. You wouldn't even know that that's an additional part. I've actually spoke to Next Level Racing since making this, sent them pictures of it and said, you know, this is a little modification I did that really reduces the flex out of it, and I think it's something I would recommend in future models. And they said they're going to send those pictures to their team, so whether or not they take it on board. But yeah, that modification there, and also again on this side, really reduce. You know, there's absolutely zero movement in this seat now. It is rock solid. But obviously, you want to make sure we measured it all out to get the seat at the angle I wanted before we went ahead and did that. So that's a great modification, and I'm really happy with that. Now, as well as that, what else did I want to talk to you guys about? Oh, I've also raised up, now I haven't come up with a permanent fixing for this yet, but I wanted to raise up the seat a little bit more than it was for the position that I had my screen in. So my current situation is, if you ignore, that's just my headphone wire that obviously just sits there until I've got them on. These poles here are actually the back of the monitor stand poles, which I didn't need. So I've just got them here. I had the legs on, and you can put wheels on, but I didn't want it to roll about. I know you can lock them, but couldn't be bothered putting all of them on. I just wanted to raise the back side at the moment, so I've just literally got, it's a bit of a temporary fix for now, but just those poles there, just to lift the back of the seat a little bit more. Now the seat, in terms of how much you can move it around, is great. I'm not going to slide it around now because I've got it in the right place, but you can see this handle here, like a car seat. You can slide it backwards and forwards. When my friend was here the other night having a go, who's a bit taller than me, he could slide it back and his knees wouldn't hit the bottom of the deck then, without having to, you know, move your pedals, which are a bit more in a fixed position. So that's great. The monitor stand. Now the monitor stand was an interesting one. Naturally, the monitor stand the monitor's just too high. I want my screen in this position here, where obviously you've got to remember that normally my phone sits in this mount here, and I have a custom dashboard display that covers up what you're seeing on the screen. But once I'm sat in the vehicle, it kind of the perspective is perfect on it. So I wanted the screen as low as possible. Now the problem with this is, originally this bar on the back perfectly blocked where my HDMI cables went in. So we had to then take it all off and actually mount it, rather than them both being mounted one through the pilot hole at the top and one through the slider at the bottom. The whole screen is mounted on the sliders at the bottom, and the washers it came with were too small. So you can see those silver washers there, if I can get the focus to work. Had to just go down to the shed and get some silver washers that would fit. But once it's sorted, you know, it is fine. It's in a good position. And it is a solid monitor mount. As I said, it's the one on the wheel, so I can slide it about. It moves around easily, and once you've fiddled it around and got it as you want, you know, it is in a great position. And then down here to the side, I've just got my current computer. I am actually going to be upgrading my computer soon. When the GTX 370 cards come out, or 3070 cards, I'm going to be building an entirely new PC with a Ryzen 5600X CPU, like I said, a 370 GPU. So we're going to be a whole new PC, so I'll do a whole review on that in the future. Continuing on, it's been weeks now since my wheel debacle. This one, the new one they gave me with, and I got the upgraded paddle shifters, is now working perfectly. Zero flaws at all. So my kind of final conclusions on Fanatec is it's absolutely fantastic. I love this wheel and setup. So that's about it for now, guys. That is my new rig. You can see I've just got my keyboard and mouse on a little table here that I slide out to jump in, and then I just slide it back in to be able to control it while I'm sitting there. But I'm really, really impressed with this rig. Now, as I said at the start, I can tell you guys why I went for this price-wise. So at the moment on Amazon, of all places, you can get this rig for £350, I think. Don't quote me on that. But the key bit is they're doing it 0% APR, £70 a month. So I'm just paying £70 a month for this over the next 5 months with zero APR. So you're not paying any extra additional finance on top. So it's a no-brainer for me. I could pick this up for 70 quid. Next month I'll pay another 70 quid and so on for the next 5 months. So it, you know, hardly hit the bank at all. The monitor stand, I actually got this from, dear me. I had a look around. The prices for this monitor stand fluctuate massively. Some places it was £200. On Amazon, they didn't have it in stock for weeks and weeks. I actually got this from, I will leave the links in the description for both. The name of it's escaped me at the moment. It's just a computer website, and I paid 120 for that next day delivery. And like I said, some places were trying to get you to pay 200 for it. So really happy with that. So overall, at the moment, this whole rig currently has cost me less than £200 in terms of what I've paid out at the moment. So that's one of the reasons I went for this. For the money, you cannot beat it. For the value for the money, yes, I've had to make a couple of modifications that cost me less than a tenner and less than an hour of my time. But once you've done that, this is a great setup. And another great thing about it is the profile and footprint of it is really, really small. Not compromisingly small, but small enough that it's not taking up too much space. You see some rigs that are huge, you know. I've just got this space here between this bed and the wall, and it fits everything, including the PC in. So I'm really happy with the profile and size of it. And as I said, there is literally zero flex if you build it correctly, and two, if you make these slight alterations. So yeah. Getting on to 15 minutes long now, so I won't carry on. But if you guys did enjoy this video and want to see more racing stuff from me in the future, I will be back uploading racing videos again shortly with this new setup. Tell me down in the comments below. If you have any further questions, of course, I'll try and answer those in the comments as well. But thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.